So macho man. I've got to be a macho man.
Hey y'all, Tom, ND3N here, just like it says up on the hat. Thanks for dropping by my little shack in the corner for a ham shack chat. Now, I just finished up with the CQ Worldwide DX RIDI contest, and I wanted to share with you the macros that I put together to do that contest. Now, as is usual, what I ended up with is not necessarily what I started with. I made several small changes as the contest progressed. But that said, they're pretty close to what I started with. At least they had the right idea. I guess the lesson in this is that you should be familiar enough with your contesting software to be able to quickly make these kind of changes on the fly. Now, this is the macro entry box from the WriteLog contesting software. WriteLog is a paid software program. It costs me $35 a year. Occasionally, they will have sales on this price if that's too rich for your blood. The link to this software is in the video description below. Another contesting software package that I recommend is N1MM, which is a free software package. This software package has a huge following in the ham community, with abundant user groups and community boards. The reason I use WriteLog versus N1MM, WriteLog is much more intuitive, and if I have a problem in the middle of a contest with it, I can shoot the WriteLog guys a note, and generally within 10 minutes I get an email back telling me how to fix my problem. That's not necessarily true with N1MM. The link to N1MM is in the video description. As you can see from this entry box, each message is assigned to a function key from 1 to 10. Every contesting software package that allows macros has a different way of parsing the messages. So if you decide to go with something other than WriteLog, and there are a multitude of them out there, I'll give you a list in the video description, then you should be able to still follow what I did in WriteLog. Just make sure you use the control characters and stuff like that they recommend in the format that they recommend. The bank shows which selections are being edited, and you'll note that I have RIDI selected, and I'll let you know that I did have a couple of messages under the shifted radio selections. It should be obvious that in order to bring up the shifted versions, you hold down the shift key while pressing the selected function key. In my case, function 3 and 4 are in case somebody missed part of the exchange and requested that I resend an information. The shifted version is if I missed part of somebody's exchange and I'm sending the request to them. So it's a question instead of an answer. So let's get into what my messages mean, and let me clear something up now. I am not looking to produce clones of me, so feel free to modify any or all of these messages to better suit your style. A couple general points: keep your messages as short as possible. Don't put in a lot of extraneous stuff. Now, I'll be discussing these, or I'll not be discussing these in numerical order. The function keys on my keyboards, as on many keyboards, are grouped. For instance, F1 through F4, F5 through 8, F9 through F12. I use keys F1 through F4 for my search and pounce macros. That's where I'm scanning through and I find somebody to work. I throw out my call sign on F1 and move through. We'll get into that more. F5 through 8 is when I'm running a frequency, and F9 through F10 for whatever else. It's a couple of places, so I just stick stuff in there. Now, I've already discussed how I use my shifted keys, so I won't belabor that point. In function 1, located at the bottom message in the box, I also put my call sign. I only put my call sign in once, as I figure I can pretty easily just press the function key several times if I need to send my call multiple times. F2 is my search and pounce report. Now, in write log, the percentage sign is used to indicate an internal process. In this case, the percentage C sends the call of the person who's running the frequency. I've put them in my contact box, and that's the call that is going to go out. That identifies that, hey, I'm calling you instead of, for instance, in RIDI, it can be really confusing sometimes because you might not hear who else somebody is working, and all of a sudden you work somebody and you realize, hey, wait a minute, no, he wasn't working me, he was working somebody else. It can get confusing, but that's why I do my macros like this. I make sure I identify who I'm talking to and who I am. Now, this is followed, their call sign is followed by TU, which means thank you. Some people have shortened that to X. Since T is a dash, U is da, so if you take da, you get an X. That's shortening things up a little too much for me. But if you're doing CW, I guess it's okay. Now, the required contest exchange follows, and for this contest, it's a signal report, which is always 599. Yeah, I know. My CQ zone, which in this case was a 4, and my state, which in this case was Ohio. Now, I followed up with my call and a percentage E. E ends the transmission and switches my radio back to receive. Please note, I also leave the space at the end of my transmission. This is so if I have to send it multiple times, for instance, my call sign, there's a space behind my call sign. That way, if I push the button 3 times, I get a space between each of my calls, each time my call is sent. Now, let's take a little jump, and I'll show you the macros that I use when I'm actually running a frequency, which on RIDI is about 95% of the time, and about 50% of the time on CW. And with voice, I play it by ear. In F5, you'll find my CQ message, which starts with a %R. That forces a line feed. So this starts that message on a new line on the other guy's decoder screen. It sets it off. So it's not in the middle of a bunch of other characters. I begin and end this message with CQ. Now, I was told a long time ago that the RF skimmers that are out there, a lot of them feed DX clusters and other spotting assistants. They look for CQ to identify messages. To be honest, I'm not sure how reliable this information is, but I know that when I haven't formatted things this way, I don't seem to get as much notice on the DX clusters. Also, please note, this is not self-spotting. I'm just making it easier for someone else to spot me. I'm not doing the spotting. And I'm not asking for them to spot me. The WW identifies which contest I'm calling CQ on. In this case, the worldwide DX contest. And then I present my call sign twice, and that improves the chance that I'll be recognized. Simply sometimes in RIDI, things get garbled, so maybe my call sign doesn't go out. If I sent it once, it would be in the garbled part. But if I sent it out twice, I double my chances that my call sign is going to get out there. I don't do it 3 times. When someone replies to my CQ, I enter their call sign into my log box, and I send F6, which is my run reply. It starts with their call sign, followed by the contest exchange and a repeat of their call sign. As always, why do I repeat their call sign twice? It's simply because a lot of times when RIDI first starts up, it's in that garbled state. So they'll be able to copy everything. They got my whole contest exchange, but they're not sure who it's coming back to until I stick their call sign on the end. Then they know, yep, he's coming back to me. I finish up by returning my radio to the receive mode with that %E. That station will then send me their signal report or ask me for a repeat. Once that other station is satisfied that they have my signal report properly and completely, they will send me their signal report. This tells me they're squared away, now it's my turn. I enter their information into my log box. After some back and forth, I make sure I have all their information good, and I press F7. Now, that F7 starts with the other station's call sign followed by thank you, TU, which is my acknowledgement that I've received their report. I then ask for more contacts with my call sign and QRZ. This macro then automatically logs the contact with the %L and returns my rig to the receive state. We've already gone over this, but F3 and F4 are used to respond to repeat requests, or in the shifted case, ask for a repeat request. In this case, my CQ zone and my state, which are parts of the contest exchange. Of course, if you're working in a different contest, you're going to want to make sure that you have that information up there, particularly if you get asked for it a lot. You'll want to change these to match whatever contest you're in with the appropriate information for that exchange. Finally, F8, F9, and F10 are used for additional messages that may be used of me in the contest. As I'm ever the gentleman, F8 starts off with please and then a repeat request. Again. That tells them I want everything before again. Or maybe I just caught part of a call when I was calling CQ. I'll send again, and that person will call again. F9 is used as a quick confirmation reply, or when I feel like being a pirate. Now, you do this for confirming your call or one of the elements in the contest. They might come back to you and say, was that Ohio? And I'll just send RRR rather than the whole thing or yes or whatever. Just RRR goes out quick and everybody understands it. Lastly, and most certainly least, selecting F10 will log the information that is in the log box. This is actually the least used of any of my functions, as I can log the information by pressing the Enter key on my keyboard or by automating it as part of the message like I did up in F7. Now, you might be asking yourself, how does he do it? How does he keep all of these functions and memories and messages in mind and shifted keying and this and that and the other stuff, and all while he's in the middle of a contest? Well, the answer is I don't keep it in mind, and I kind of cheat. I don't consider it cheating, but I'll show you what I do, and you can tell me if you think it's cheating. I just provide myself a tool that reminds me where all of these are and place it prominently on my keyboard. I used to take a sticky note and stick it up in the corner of my computer with everything written down, but let me show you how I do it. Okay, I start off with a 3x5 recipe card, as you can see right here. I slide it in behind my function keys. I use a ultra-fine Sharpie. I come through and I just make dots on the paper in the middle of each function key. Okay, now on top of where I wrote those dots, I'll go ahead and add my call. Okay, ND3N, it doesn't look like it, but trust me, that's my call, and here's my report, and so on. I then use a regular desk scissors, and I cut across. Now I've just marked my first two function keys, So I know if I want to hit my call, I hit my function key. If I want to send my report, I do that. And that's what it looks like when I'm all done. And that's how I set up my macros for each contest that I do. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not looking for people to duplicate what I do. I'm just saying that this is, and I'm not saying this is absolutely the best way to do things. It's your station, it's your contest. I just hope I've given you a little insight into how to develop your macros, how to organize them, and how to remember where they all are. Please take a moment and give me a like by popping that thumbs up button. And likes are free. Great way to show your appreciation for my efforts in putting together this content. Please share this content with your friends who may appreciate it. Feel free to leave a comment below. I respond to all comments, usually pretty quickly, but always within 24 hours. Thanks for dropping by my little shack in the corner for a ham shack chat. This time, about macros. Who would have thunk? As always, I'm at your service. I'm Tom, ND3N, 7-3 for now, and I'm out.